All right, so the 8N Ford tractor, I'm going to go through it today. So I'm going to go through it, three different parts here. Uh, first part's going to be the tractor itself as we see it. The second part will be what I know about Ford N series tractors, and then the last part's going to be comparing this to like a newer compact type tractor. All right, so this is a Ford 8N Ford tractor. This is my dad's. I believe he bought it in the early 70s, and he's had it ever since. I don't know like how many owners there were previous, but he's had it since the 70s. Just recently, he's had work done in the back here by the wheels, the hubs, because he had this wheel was actually a rim was just covered with grease, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable about that. And he had a new rim put on not that long ago, and now when I was checking the back here, you can see this one here does not look hot, and where that valve stem is, it looks like it's actually a little wet, which is not good. The tires are filled with solution. His 3-point arms here, I believe are non-adjustable. Yeah, he's got them welded here. So, and he's got them set so they're all the way up. He always talked about hitching it high, so you got a lot of the down force on the back tires used as traction. So there were like some modifications done to this tractor. I think they came with a utility type exhaust, which means the pipe, I should just come around this side, the pipe would go down and underneath the floorboard here. I don't know if he put this on or if it came this way. The reason for this is he said when you go in the woods with it, you'd end up ripping the exhaust off or it would get snagged on stuff. So this way you don't have the issue. What else about this can I tell you? 6 volt. He hasn't changed that. It's still a 6 volt system with a generator, although this was changed. And I don't know why. He went through the whole electronics or the whole ignition system was gone through, new coil, distributor, wires, plugs, and then points. This looks rather recent too. He added one of these inline radiator coolant heaters. It works okay, and he also has a magnet that he clicks to the bottom when it's really cold if he wants to try to get it started. I believe this is a 1947 8N. I'm not 100% sure. It's either a 47 or a 49. Someone told us it was a 49. I thought it said 47 in the book, or on the based off the serial number. I'm not sure, but maybe someone can clear that up. I know this is part, I think, for the steering to adjust it. Steering's got a little bit of play. This switch is for the lights. The lights do work. And they're actually relatively bright for being 6 volt. That's not bad. So and the battery's good. It turns over slow, but it starts. I think this was replaced at one point. The starter switch, choke, some bolts on the top here. Inside, there you got your 6 volt battery and your fuel tank. I'm not sure where this is supposed to be, but I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be here. I think either it gets mounted down in here or it actually gets mounted. I think on the 8Ns they got mounted inside here. And that got moved obviously for some reason. Ever since I've growing up around this tractor, I've always known this brown box, so he must have put this on before I was born. And so I always thought when I'd see another 8N, 9N, or 2N, or anything that looked similar to this, I'm like, oh, it's missing the box. Well, no, he made that. He made the box for this. And the reason for this box, which is it's actually pretty handy and heavy, it was for all his logging stuff for making firewood. So his chainsaw here, he made it so that you can see it just that it fits. And then there was actually room for chains, and then he had like he would use an old milk jug with his mixed gas, and you have your bar and chain oil and all your other tools. That would all fit in here, so this was a real handy thing to get out to the woods with. So when I remember as a kid too, riding in this box and having this lid hit me in the head because it was really heavy, really super heavy. So yeah, that's held up pretty well since, like I said, probably early 70s. He has a back blade for it that he uses. And then the 3-point arms. 3-point arms are on for pulling logs. What else? It leaks a lot of oil. It always has. You can see here, oops, I almost stepped in it. That's new. That actually came out of where the cover is on the PTO, and then there's another drip somewhere else, and there's some more drips. Yeah, that's just the way it is. So, oh, this looks like this got snapped off. I wonder when that happened. Well, this is bent too, I believe. Well, anyway, so yeah, that's what I can tell you about this 8N in the way of Dad owning it and everything. I think also I should mention we did replace the water pump. I know I did that. I did that in high school because it wouldn't start. It was leaking antifreeze, I think, all over the coil. And this one's got the front ignition, which is kind of hard to work on. So, and I think also there's something wrong with the dipstick. The handles broke off or something. We need to fix that. So there you go. That's what I can tell you about this one specifically. All right, so what I can tell you about the Ford N Series tractors. This is an 8N. Before the 8N was the 2N, and that was built somewhere, I think, in 1942 to 1947. And then before the 2N was the 9N, and that was built in 1939 up until 1942. Now, I'm not gonna, well, disclaimer, I'm not an expert in Ford tractors. So my information may not be correct, but it's got to be pretty close. Let's be honest. So N series tractors, as far as I know, all 8Ns came with a 4-speed. The 9s and the 2s only came with 3 speeds. Most common, you'll see like a rod either coming out here or here. That's for either a step up, step down, or both. So it's like a high range, low range, and then you would have the actual standard range that came with the tractor. Most of the time you see those on 9s and 2s because it's limited to 3 speeds. They'd want a faster road gear. So when you do have a step up, that does change your PTO speed too. So it'll make it go whatever the step up or high speed is. So it's probably not, you couldn't really use that for implements. It would be more for just transporting the tractor down the road. The oil that you got to use, or at least the oil we use, is going to be non-detergent oil. If you use a detergent oil, which would be like a normal 30 weight, it'll just foam. It'll foam right out of this breather here. And I guess Dad found that out in the 70s. And when he talked to a guy like, oh yeah, the old tractor, you got to use non-detergent oil, which it's sometimes hard to find. These tractors, I would say, go somewhere between the $1,500 and $2,000 range. Usually in condition probably similar to this. I looked at a 9N or 2N. It was one of the two. I couldn't tell him. The guy, of course, couldn't tell me. He wanted $1,200 for it, and I talked him down to $1,100, and it had a step up. He didn't think it was a step up, step down, and I think it was. I think it was just a step up. But I didn't buy it because the guy just seemed too shifty and seemed like he was just trying to turn around and sell it. He only had it for a couple weeks. And basically he just got it running and changed everything over to 12 volt. So things about this tractor that some may not like. Either it seems like people love these things or hate them. It doesn't have live power, so that means when you go to lift up your 3-point arms or operating your PTO, as soon as you push the clutch in, everything stops because everything runs through that transmission. So if I pull this up and the clutch is in, nothing will happen. You got to let the clutch back out. So if you're in gear, you're going to be moving. If you don't want to be moving, you have to put the clutch in, put it in neutral, pull up your arm, and then wait for your implement to come up. That's kind of a nuisance. And I believe at the time these were designed, the 8N, live power was something other manufacturers were using in their tractors, like maybe, let's say Oliver 55s. I don't even know if that's true. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure Oliver, maybe, would it be Massey Ferguson? Or Ferguson's, maybe Ferguson. I don't think it was Massey Ferguson. Maybe it was just Ferguson's at that time were using that. I'm not sure about that whole thing. Some of you tractor experts can correct me. So yeah, live power is a deal. There was something at 6 volt. 6 volt system. So it turns over real slow in the winter. Doesn't like to start. This one doesn't like to start. It cranks really slow. It cranks. It will crank in cold weather, but it's like it doesn't crank fast enough to get it to kick. This one, I think, cranks fast enough because there's enough blow by and slop in the rings in the engine that it spins a little bit quicker. I think the compression's a little bit lower because this one has definitely been worked. Nothing's been really done with the actual engine itself or carburetor, believe it or not. Like that in itself is pretty amazing. You can tell nothing's been touched on that thing in years. So yeah, and then we have 2Ns, 9Ns, 8Ns, and I always like to say that there's a 3N. There isn't, but it sounds like there should be. people seem to either love them or hate them. I like the fact that they're cheap, and you're getting a tractor that this is definitely compact size. I can see why people don't like them. If you're going to put like a brush hog or something on the back and you don't have live power, that could be annoying. And then the weight of the tractor. These tires are filled with solution. I believe they're up to about here in the tire. You can usually see the condensation line during the summer. So that helps a lot. If you don't have solution, yeah, they're pretty light. So, but in the way of farm work, we used to pull, I wouldn't say we always pulled, but there was times where I know my dad would pull a Miller 4100, Miller Pro 4100 chopper wagon. So that was with chopped hay in it. And I can't remember if that was 2-axle or 3-axle trailer. And he pulled it with this. You know, granted, he didn't pull it fast through the field, and once he got onto the road where it was flat, he could get it into fourth gear, but this little tractor would pull that. Now this is, like I said, this is compact. I want to say this is about 2,500 pounds. It's got to be somewhere in that ballpark, I would say. And you know, you can get that on, I got that on the small trailer here. It is 6x10. Pulled it with a mid-size SUV. So that's good, and this thing will do a lot of work. You know, first gear is pretty slow. You got a lot of torque there. There's a lot of guys that change them over to V8s or 6s. I've seen one that a guy had a Detroit diesel in. Like, that thing really ripped. That was kind of cool. I don't know how practical that would be, but it definitely it's got some coolness going on. So in the way of those three tractors, a lot of people will convert them over if they're using them to a 12 volt just because it's more user-friendly than a 6-volt system, and this 6-volt system is positive ground. The later 8Ns had a side distributor, which was out here, easy to work on. It also had like a proof meter or speedometer or hour meter built in here, but still then same 4-speed, and all the other stuff was basically the same. And the valves are not overhead. This is a flathead Ford engine. So I know I got a buddy who's just not sold on these at all. He never really has. And he's into tractors. They collect all the, like, they got every single model tractor that's in this size from every manufacturer, Massey, Oliver, Ford. You know, they have a Ford even though he doesn't like it. He just swears up and down, don't waste your time with these. You can find a tractor for, you know, that's got twice as much uses based on, you know, it's got hydraulics, it's got this, it's the same size. True. But it would be heavier. Like, I looked at an International 350 and those, like a utility, and those are definitely heavier. So this is just a light tractor, and like I said, for the price, you can find these pretty cheap. You really can. So that's what I can tell you about the N series and stuff like that. I know after the 8N series came the Jubilees, which I think are, is it NNA or NAA tractors, and those had overhead valves. And I think they had hydraulics and some stuff like that, and it was a little bit more advanced. Did I say overhead valves? They had that too. All right, so that's the N series Ford tractors. All right, so in comparison, I'm looking at subcompact and some compact tractors, trying to decide what to go with. And right now I'm using this because, like I said, I'm using this for nothing. Things that are nice about this tractor, this one in particular, is that I know how it works. I've used it before, and it's not costing me anything. Things that aren't nice, there's obviously no loader. I probably could get one for it, but it's not going to be very handy. No power steering. It's a gas engine. What else can I tell you? Oh, the brakes. The brakes are mechanical, so you have to push down with your foot. In a lot of instances, you stand up, put down all the force you can on your foot while grabbing the steering wheel and pulling down as hard as you can, because that's just how the brakes work. You can get them to lock up if you set them up tight, but most guys, when they talk about driving these, like, they're usually saying a prayer before they go down the road to hope that they stop. Oh, what else? So yeah, no hydraulics, mechanical brakes, no power steering, gas. So there's a lot of disadvantages to this thing. What else? I guess that's probably about it. So for the compact and subcompacts, you know, you got a diesel engine, probably runs a little bit more efficient. It's going to be probably a little bit more reliable because it's newer electronics. You obviously are going to have remotes in the back or somewhere in the midpoint, hook stuff up. The most of them come with a loader. I know what else. They're 4-wheel drive. You know, those are all great things to have. The difference, again, I said, and I think, you know, in the way of, depending on what you're looking for, if you really need a loader, yeah, a new subcompact or compact is great, but, you know, you're gonna be looking at somewhere between, the cheapest I've seen is, well, I can tell you, it's 14,750. I got a quote for a Yanmar, and 19,900 for a John Deere 2025R. And those are with loaders without tax. So that's a lot of money. And granted, you could probably finance, actually, I know you can finance both those for 6 years, 5 years, 5 or 6 years at 0%. But there again, then you're going to have a somewhere between 200 and probably 250 a month payment for the next 6 years. This, you could go and basically pick up and buy it. You're on Craigslist, you know, and they're, like I said, this thing seems pretty reliable. He hasn't done a lot of maintenance with it, I'm going to be honest. I don't know that he changes oil in it anymore either. I think he just adds because it leaks out so much. So, you know, in the way of advantage, you get yourself, if you need a tractor to work, and this would be the way to go. So I'm going to try it this weekend. I'll do some footage with it. Hopefully I can get some logs pulled with it, and we'll see how it goes. I got high hopes for this thing. We'll see how it works. Yeah, I don't know. Other than that, really, that's all I got on this thing. If you got questions, just let me know. I'll answer them the best that I can. And like I said, over the weekend here, we'll get it hooked up here.